So, a very quick one. This is good news, a very good news indeed to every one of us who have been a victim or those who might be victims of fraud eventually. So, this has been a very serious, problem for many of us. Think about it. You are a victim of fraud and the bank cannot do anything about it. You've just made a very huge transfer of money to someone, and you later realize it was fraudulent, a fraudulent transfer, a fraudulent payment to an individual, a website, a person who impersonates as a genuine business, or even what they do today, transferring money to a so-called soulmate who pretends to be a soulmate, a lover, pretentious lover. So you have made such a huge transfer to the person, and eventually you get to know that it was fraudulent. In the past, if you report this type of fraudulent transaction to the bank, you might not even be attended to, because the bank would outrightly tell you that that payment or that transfer, that transaction is not within their jurisdiction to recover. Guess what, guys? There is good news. I can't help to say this is a big good news. Indeed, it is a good news because the Central Bank of Nigeria has brought out a new mandate, a new policy to hold banks responsible. In fact, they must respond within 30 minutes of your complaint. Yes, it is as serious as that. Now, this is what happens when you discover or that you have made a fraudulent transaction, which is called authorized push payment, APP in quotes, to someone who impersonates, even if it's a ransom payment, you discover that you've made such a huge payment and you want to recover your funds. The Central Bank of Nigeria has made a mandate to banks to make sure that you get your payments as soon as possible, at most within 16 working days. Now, in the past, we all know that recovery of funds was quite difficult. But now, if banks do not respond as fast as possible to your complaint, the Central Bank of Nigeria will mandate them to refund you the equal amount of money that you have, lost without any short change. Now, banks are held responsible. In fact, they are running helter-skelter now to meet up with this demand, because if they fail to meet up these requirements consistently, there have been complaints filed against them by individuals to the Central Bank of Nigeria. They will face charges by the regulatory bodies, by the bank regulatory bodies. Now, let us go into a little bit detail. You see, the Central Bank of Nigeria has deemed it a financial breach of trust if banks cannot respond as soon as possible to refund or to freeze accounts of individuals who have engaged in fraudulent activities. Before, it is said that if the payment has passed through, it is gone. But now, the banks must freeze that account or trace the accounts. So if you lodge a complaint, and this is very important, you must lodge a complaint within 24 hours of the transaction being made. Within 24 hours of the transaction being made. Now, whenever you lodge your complaint, the bank must respond on your complaint within 30 minutes of receiving your complaint. So, how should you send your complaint? You should send your complaint through either an email to their fraud handling section, and even when you've done that, you can as well simultaneously go on their page, their social media pages, on X, that's Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, anywhere you can find their pages. Send them direct DM, okay? It is recognized, okay? So you draft a letter, and I'll be showing you how to draft a letter. Then you must send that, letter either through email. You send it through email, then you send it through their social media platforms, all their handles. Make sure you send it to their DM, okay? And once you have done this, you have a documented reserve somewhere that you have done this. Have it documented that you have done this. Now, if the bank, having received your letter, does not respond to give you a reference number showing that they're working on it within 30 minutes of receiving your letter, you have the legal right to escalate the matter to the Central Bank of Nigeria if you don't get such response from them within 30 minutes. When they receive your formal complaints, they are supposed to escalate the matter immediately, freezing the account. And if the money has been pushed from one account to another account to another account, as much as the banks involved, as much as possible, all banks involved should be notified within that same 30 minutes. Within that same 30 minutes window, must be notified. Now, after such notification, investigation must take place for 14 days. So they would have to make investigations for 14 days after receiving your own notification. Now, after 14 days, they are meant to give you a response within 48 hours of the end of the investigation. So the total number of days for your money to be recovered is not more than 16 days, 16 working days. If you fail to get a response after 16 days, then you do the following. Write or draft a letter. I will show you how to draft a letter and forward it with a copy of the letter that you have forwarded to the bank initially. Yes, you must refer that letter and send to the Central Bank of Nigeria in the following ways. You can send it to their official email, that is one, or go directly to the bank and drop the letter, and make sure you don't put anything like a PIN or password within the letter. Okay, so once you have done that, the Central Bank of Nigeria within 30 minutes would contact the bank to confirm your complaint. And if the bank is found liable, the Central Bank of Nigeria will mandate the bank to make a refund to you. Yes, and apart from that, the bank itself will be sanctioned by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Of course, if the bank falls short on a consistent basis and receives complaints regularly, if the Central Bank receives complaint about a particular bank regularly, then the bank would have regulatory bodies sanction it, which can result to grievous consequences, which can include withdrawal of license of operation. These are meant to protect the populace, to protect the customers from fraud. So the banks must do the following. The banks must set up an early warning system that would notify them of red flags of huge amount of money crossing around. If huge amount of transaction is made, the red flags must go on. If the account being transferred to is a new account, the red flags will go on. If that account have been marked as a fraudulent account in the past, the red flags will go on. And other indications too. Again, there must be a way to trace and retract the funds immediately within 30 minutes of the payment. That is why you, as a customer, must act quickly to make a complaint, a formal complaint. Guys, I cannot tell you how happy I am for this information. It means the banks are held responsible. Your money, they are not just a passive pipe for your money anymore. They don't serve as a passive pathway for transactions anymore. They serve to protect your fund and to protect you from being defrauded. Yes, and they must live up to this. And if they don't have an early warning system in their paraphernalia, in their electronic systems, they must start to do that now before the central bank notices it, because if central bank notices that they don't have an early warning system integrated into their banking system, of course, they will be sanctioned immediately and they will pay heavy fines for this. And it can also result to their withdrawal of license of operation. So guys, I want to bring this to your notice, and I want you to share this message as much as possible to others so that they can be notified about this, so that they can be aware of this information. It's very important for your protection. Thank you very much for listening.